Everything old is new again. America's entertainment pop culture talk show.
It may well possess a rudimentary intelligence.
I'm trying to think, but nothing happens.
Felt a great disturbance in the force.
Hello, I'm Mr. Red.
Come on, bark like a dog for me.
Where's the goodies?
Leave the gun. Take the cannoli.
I bet you wouldn't have done anything like this if Mom and Dad were here.
You filthy criminal.
Excuse me while I whip this out.
Go ahead. Make my day.
Here are your hosts, Douglas Viviani and David Cohen.
The CBS Radio Mystery Theater presents... Come in. Welcome. I'm E.G. Marshall.
Our mystery drama, A Second Chance, was written especially for Radio Mystery Theater by Bob Jurin and stars Paul Hecht and Bob Kaliban.
And we're here on Everything Old is New again with Paul Hecht and Bob Kaliban.
Not in that order.
Not in
that's it.
HK.
Yes. Oh, that's right.
Yes. What we can say is that the fourth member of the team, David Cohen, is unavailable, and that's why it's great to share the microphone with these two gentlemen.
He would be first.
Yes.
Yes. Would he ever?
And of course, I would be last. But this is Douglas Viviani. We're having some fun. Continue our discussion about the CBS Radio Mystery Theater. If you heard that clip and that brought back some memories, you're tuning into the right show. If it doesn't bring back memories, you're still tuning into the right show, because this is an opportunity to open our mind into seeing what radio mystery or radio theater and radio drama can be. And we can be more on the radio. We can do more things on the radio, as you've heard for the last 4 years on Everything Old is New again. And we're happy to have a special guest, Paul Hecht, who graduated again from the National Theatre School of Canada in '63, was on Broadway in '68 in Rosencrantz and Guildenstern are Dead, for which he was nominated for a Tony Award, and continued on Broadway in 1776, Caesar and Cleopatra, Henry IV, the last two, along with Rex Harrison, and many, many more.
You didn't stop working, did you?
I didn't for a while now.
It's good.
That's why I've stopped now.
Yes.
I've acted already.
And he's all been in many, many television shows, including Miami Vice, Remington Steele, As the World Turns. Also, Howard Stern had him beside him in the movie Private Parts as the newsman Russ Buckingham. Certainly was another movie with another star of the day, Chris Rock and Alan Alda. A different movie, A New Life, with Chris Rock. He was on Down to Earth is the name of the movie, and Last Call with Jeremy Irons. Welcome, Mr. Hecht, back to the performance of Everything Old is New again.
Thank you. Bobby doesn't get any credit?
I was looking over. I was going to say Bob Kaliban is a native of Iowa.
Sure.
And I'll tell you, he rings a bell for us, because, and I think you're going to be speaking back to the hometowners. KXEL reaches almost all of Iowa and then some.
Yes.
So say hello, if you like, to some of the old gang.
Oh yes, in Cedar Rapids, Iowa. I lived in a little town just east of there, Lisbon, Iowa. Can you believe that? 900 people, and there wasn't much theater in Lisbon, Iowa, but...
certainly not after you left.
No, that's right.
And Car 54, Where Are You, is where you began your television appearances. Patty Duke and Bernstein Bears, Law and Order, Schoolhouse Rock, and even the Top Cat movie in 2011.
Yeah.
And you were in 97 episodes compared to Paul Hecht, who was in 138.
We don't want to say that.
This is Radio Mystery Theater just produced some tremendous entertainment, as we're trying to do now. And listen, if you're a fan of The Twilight Zone or Alfred Hitchcock, or listen, the list goes on, Ellery Queen, on and on and on. These radio plays are different every week, as is our show, but the core of it is a love, I think, of entertaining. Is that what, would you agree with that, or no, Bob?
Absolutely. And not only entertaining, sometimes scholarship. I mean, you learn an awful lot from listening to the radio. And I probably have felt that radio sent me on a career that just has, it really hasn't stopped yet. It almost has, but it was radio, I think, that got me started in the business and turned me to voiceovers rather than an on-camera career. But because I've done so much radio and the kind of character voices that I do, dialects and accents and stuff.
And animals.
The
yes. Koala bear.
That's right.
That's the one. Do you still do the koala bear?
Oh, no. They asked me to stop doing that. But, no.
I loved that koala bear.
Yeah. No.
Well, it all comes from good writing, and I just want to mention a few names.
Oh, absolutely.
And I know I don't. Did you have any? Well, let's mention some names. But my question is leading up to: did you have any contact with any of the authors, or did they come to the studio and make a change here and there? Or
I was in touch with one of them. I forget his name because when after High died. Were you on that? Did you do that the High Brown Memorial radio piece?
I think so.
Marion was on it. Roberta
Yes.
Maxwell.
Mm-hmm.
Marion was not.
He's talking about Marion Seldes.
Seldes. But I can't remember who wrote it. I have it in my file somewhere, but the name escapes me.
Good for you.
Just as names,
Oh boy.
As you say, you can't remember what you had for breakfast. I can't remember the names of what I ate. I can't remember the name for egg has gone.
I can do the commercial for what I had for breakfast, but that's it.
Yes, I know. You were asking a question of Bobby about radio. For me, it was even more specific because even though I've done just about everything you can think of in every area of acting in an effort to make a living, for me, the thing that I keep going back to is the spoken word. I'm a big spoken word nut. I do master classes sound so pompous, but I try to help poets and young people lift. I start out my sessions by saying, you've done one of the hardest things I can possibly think of, which is to put some words down on paper, and now you've got to do something almost equally as difficult, which is to lift them back up again.
Right.
Oh, that's a great way to phrase it. And people that did that was somebody like an Ian Martin. His name has to be familiar. Did so many of these. Yeah. Elspeth Eric.
Elspeth, yep.
Sam Dan.
Arnold
Moss to a much lesser degree, but he certainly was
Arnold
involved.
Was a very good actor, Arnold was the father of Jeffrey Moss, also dead, who wrote Rubber Ducky.
How about that?
Oh, really?
And Arnold was a great Lear, I believe. I think Arnold did one of the great. He was a very good shake actor.
He also was on a great episode of Star Trek, if you remember that.
There you go. What one is remembered for?
Exactly.
I mean. Oh yeah, Paul. You were in that Law and Order where you. And you think all of Shakespeare, all the stuff I've done.
Yeah. Right.
And they remember that.
They remember that.
They remember the Howard Stern. That's what they remember,
right?
Yeah.
Exactly.
Well,
like it or not, right?
I have a terrible story about that. So I've probably done 14,000 commercials, but the only one they remember, I'm the little man in the tidy bowl.
Yes, that's right.
So I've been in your toilet for a long, long time.
That's right.
Oh boy.
Oh boy.
Well, so did any of these writers stand out to you in that? I guess not. But did you get any scripts and say, "Oh, there's an Ian Martin script that's terrific," or "This is so and so," and I don't know about that, or you just kind of dove into whatever it was? Yeah. Did any stand out to you?
Don't. I mean, as we said on the last show last week, I mean, you'd get the call. You'd show up on time, you'd get there a few minutes early, take off your coat, say hi to everybody, and they'd hand you the script and you'd do it.
Right.
And I don't even remember looking at the first page, the title and the author.
Oh no.
You would go, which is my part. You'd start to mark up. The first thing you did was you'd get your pencil out. Have you heard the expression? I just heard it. Somebody, my musician friend, said, "No pencil, no career." Isn't that a good one?
That's good. I like that.
Because you'd mark it up for what? Intonations? Or we would change words?
No, intonations.
Just your part.
No, you put a bit. What did you do? I did a kind of an arrow, a diminuendo. Do you know what the diminuendo sign is?
Yes.
I would do that.
Yeah.
But you didn't mark.
No, I didn't.
Just to show where your part was.
Yeah. You just circle your part
or roll. Make sure
you'll put an X where your next speech is.
Yes, that's right.
But it's amazing when you were a character actor, and that's what I am. I never knew what I was going to play. I mean, he never called me and said, "Okay, I want you on Thursday to play Barney, whatever." I just would walk in and say, "Thank you, Jesus," or somebody for letting me work that
And the
day.
script was the script, as you said, but once in a while you would change a word. Hyman Brown, you're doing this live, so I guess you couldn't change your...
Well, no, I would change it during the read-through.
Okay.
Sometimes it didn't,
Yeah.
Sometimes the script wouldn't... I mean, I wouldn't change the meaning.
Right.
But sometimes a word wouldn't fall out of your mouth the way you'd like it to.
Mm-hmm.
And you change that and
You
move
change that and move on, and I would go. I was so busy with something else he didn't.
He didn't even hear you.
I mean, after a while, and as we said last week, some people only did one. But after a while, once you've done 10, 11, 12, 15 shows, I would go, okay, Bobby Kaliban is going to do these two. You're going to do you're going to do the old cowboy, and you're going to do... the guy behind the diner counter. And he knew that Bobby would just do something, and I wouldn't have to worry about that.
No.
He had other things to worry about.
We got to worry about commercials. We'll be back right after this, and everything old is new again.
You're listening to Everything Old is New Again, America's entertainment pop culture talk show with Douglas Viviani and David Cohen.
Oh, yes, it's called the CBS Radio Mystery Theater, and it'll be on every night of the week. Not a continuous drama, it'll be a new original drama every night in the week.
And you'll be on each
I'm
of
the
these?
host, because some of these deal with the occult, some deal with ghost stories, some are mysteries, some are romances, but everything is with something with a mystery to it. Mm-hmm. So we're going to see what will happen. If there is an audience out there that likes to listen to just words and not watch the tube, as we've been doing now for 20 years.
Here we go. Everything old is new again, joining E.G. Marshall in 1974, talking about the production of CBS Radio Mystery Theater.
When there were tubes, when we watched the tube.
Exactly. And only 20 things he references for only 20 years. That was 74. He's a little off, but
what I wanted to talk about, I'm sure you have, since you've just played the E.G. Marshall thing. I remember, Bobby, correct me if I'm wrong, I remember when we would actually do it that I would play it. So he must have recorded the intro before we did it.
Mm-hmm.
Do you remember that?
Sometimes I think I did.
Because I remember hearing it, and then High with the cue. You remember he would sit behind the thing and give you a cue? Like we cared, like we didn't know that it was our turn.
That it was our turn to stop.
So he would point to you at the end of the
it was like the old days. He would he would be the Leonard Bernstein of radio, and he'd sort of go like that and the thing. And Marlon, dear Marlon, the producer, and the sound effects guy with all of that.
So you had sound effects guy doing. He wasn't on recorded sound effects.
They were recorded, but they were on like cassettes things.
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to remember when I did radio in Canada at the very beginning of my career when I was in 19 or so. I don't remember clip clops or anything like that.
Right.
Do you remember any of that? I don't think we did that.
No, I don't think so.
I think all of the sound effects were
more or less recorded
on cassette.
Yeah.
They were pre-recorded.
Yeah.
But as you performed Radio Mystery Theater, there was a sound man that would hit the button and change the cassette and so forth. And you have to wait for that, or at least
you'd sort of hear it and sense it, and High would be conducting away like we cared,
right?
So as if we didn't know that we had to wait for the door to close or open before we came in.
So in other words, he was in a booth.
There was a door. Hang on a second. Yeah. There was a door.
Yes, there was a door.
There was a live door.
Yep.
And you had to wait. You had to wait for the door to, and occasionally an actor who was only on the show for once would come in and the door wasn't open yet. You'd have to do it again. You think, how can you come? You can't come in. The door is not open yet, right?
Funny stuff, because you were performing them live. He was in a studio, let's say, with a window looking down at where you were, and he was giving you all these hand signals that I hear through radio.
He would conduct. He would go, he would
point to you or
point to something, and we'd,
And if you're running out of time, what was the signal for that? He gave you the cut sign, or
I don't remember that very much, but it would be that.
Like speed it up, kind of a thing.
I don't remember ever running out of time.
I don't either.
High was pretty good.
It's amazing.
He had an internal clock. He could, that old joke of handing the producer the script, and he puts the script in his hand, and he said, feels long.
That's right.
High had an unerring ability to know if it was in time or not, in spite of all his shenanigans about, no, trying to get my timing. Paul, come on, I'm trying to stop. I'd like to,
Yeah.
But I don't think it ever went over.
Now, you had quite a number of special guests, I should say, that are, besides yourselves, that are known in the industry. I can only name a few of them, but
unlike the two of us, you mean?
Yes, exactly. That's what I said. But this, Tony Roberts from the Woody Allen movies, Mandel Kramer, Mercedes McCambridge was on in the beginning.
I did a lot. I did several with
Mercedes.
Kim Hunter. I did a couple with Kim.
Yeah.
Yeah, Ralph
with
Bell.
Kim, like I know.
Oh, Ralph Bell.
Ralph was a president
wonderful.
of SAG.
Yeah.
So you have memories of these individuals. Now, what you would do is you would perform with them, and then, like you said, you'd walk home or something. But that would be you didn't go to dinner or what have you afterwards and say hello.
No, I mean, I had. One of the things about what I like to call our floating opera. Bobby and I have known each other on the street, in studios, waiting for auditions, rounding up the usual customers for how many years?
Oh boy.
And I think I've had soup in your house once.
I'm a soup man.
I think she made soup once when I came by. I have a social relation. I'm friendly with Tony. We have a social relationship. I think I went to. But in general, no. It's a unique kind of relationship that those of us who were on the voiceover radio circuit had.
Mm-hmm.
We'd meet, we'd tell a few jokes. Sometimes you'd have a coffee or something.
Yeah.
You had time for coffee. But in those days, we were so busy. Who had time for coffee?
And
you say it was like a symphony, and it really was in a different way. And you had these 4 or 5, however many actors in the studio performing this play, and then off you go.
But, Bobby, even before that, the people that were in the generation just a half step before us, who were in the heyday, the great days of radio.
Oh, yes.
They would go from one studio to another, wouldn't they? They'd do different shows.
Yeah.
And there would be a waiting room somewhere that...
Yeah.
I can't remember who talked to me about it.
I used to go up to NBC every once in a while and do a show, and there would be people sitting there waiting to do their part, and then they go to another studio and do another part. I mean, it was a busy day for them. I was more than just blessed to work with High as many times as I did, and the great thing was that I got to work with so many wonderful people that I wouldn't have been able to work with on the stage or other areas.
But Radio Mystery Theater was already a revival of radio.
Oh, yes.
Right.
Right?
Exactly.
I mean, when I told my wife, I said, I've got this interview about, I said, here I am at the ripe old age of 76. I'm now an old-time radio actor, and I said, but there were people who came before us who were really old-time radio actors.
Yeah,
well, like we say, Mercedes McCambridge, as an example, did a few before she passed away. She acted with Orson Welles back in the 30s and 40s.
For instance.
For example, and you were able to work with her. So it's interesting. But you're right. The heyday was not during the Radio Mystery Theater days. It was a revival.
Oh, yes.
Successful.
But there was nothing else, as far as I remember.
No.
I mean, I do remember an effort, which I'm sorry it never took off, of doing a 1-minute soap opera. Did you ever hear about that?
Yeah, I think so.
It was a 1-minute soap opera, and it was played on a dozen stations like yours is every day, and then there would be a different one, but it would just be the one episode was just for the day, and then there'd be another one the next day. So you'd record 5 minutes of 5, you'd record 5 1-minute soap operas, and it never took off. And I've always thought, what a fabulous idea.
Yeah, great idea.
Right.
But somehow whoever they are, don't seem to want to pick up on it. The advertisers, the thing. I think they're missing a great opportunity.
Well, that's what I think. Sorry.
I was going to say, you see, iHeartRadio has filed for bankruptcy, and I think there's a reason. To me, some of that is we've become so formulaic in the radio that there's this. We don't want to take a chance. The local stations take more chances than the others. No,
maybe.
Know. I mean, it's a mystery because I'm not them.
Right.
You know, and I remember talking to High, they used to drive High man with their, you know, I mean, my wife and I, who are both in the business, we call those people civilians. You know, they just don't get it somehow.
Yeah.
I mean, I can't figure it out.
Because don't we want radio? I mean, you tell me, when you grew up, wasn't radio more fun? Wasn't it, you know, more variety? Or am I wrong?
No.
Oh, radio was.
But I mean,
fabulous.
Yeah. I mean, I grew up in England. So for me, the Goon Show, which you can still hear. I mean, I went back to my crystal set, my little white plastic crystal set, where I heard Roger Bannister break the 5-minute mile, 4-minute mile, whatever he broke in 50-something. And I was allowed to stay up in bed, you know, on Wednesday nights listening to the Goon Show.
Yeah.
Well, it was my version of you lying on the floor, sticking your ear up against your family, your family's piece of furniture radio thing. And so that was my, and then it translated, fortunately, as Bobby said, you know, thank you. Well, you say Jesus, I say somebody else. But it translated into a portion of my professional life for which I, like Bobby, am endlessly grateful. Doing it is so much fun.
But when I think of the amount of time that I spent listening to radio, whether it was Jack Benny or I don't want to go through all the things, but Inner Sanctum or whatever, it was such a creative area for me to listen to those people and know that, oh, that's that guy who did that little character also did the one there, because I could kind of tell that. But most of the American people who were listening probably didn't know that was the same guy.
So you were already attuned to the character.
Oh my gosh, yes.
See that?
And it caused me to think that maybe I could be a character actor.
We're glad you did. We'll be back right after this, and everything old is new again.
All right, so Doug, people have been saying, hey, I could find you guys on YouTube. You have your own YouTube channel. I can find you on Facebook. But what about other social media? Do you exist anywhere else in the social media universe?
Yes, we do. We're on Instagram and we're on Twitter. At the same thing, you go at EONA Show. That's Everything Old is New Again. The initials right, so it's EONA Show. And that's it, at EONA Show. You got Instagram, Twitter, and I'll tell you, we post pictures, behind-the-scenes stuff, trivia questions, contests, notes about the show, so you have a lot of fun. Subscribe to us, friend us on Facebook if you can, and subscribe to the YouTube, and follow us on Twitter and Instagram.
That's fun. I'm going to even start doing that.
It might be worth your while. You can actually know what we're going to do next week.
Good.
At EONA Show. That's at EONA Show.
Now, back to America's entertainment pop culture talk show. Everything Old is New Again, with Douglas Viviani and David Cohen.
Do you have any ideas how we could get out of here?
I have escaped from Berg prison camp and from Lubeck.
So Scharnhorst couldn't be any harder. How do you start?
My method is simple. Make friends, make observation, and make haste. Comprenez?
Our mystery drama, Breakout, was written especially for the Mystery Theater by James Agate Jr. and stars Paul Hecht and Bob Kaliban.
And so does Everything Old is New Again star Paul Hecht and Bob Kaliban. Here we're reminiscing and having some great discussion about radio Mystery Theater, and we're going to go a little bit into the future of radio. We're talking about that. That was an interesting clip, though, because that was a clip where Hyman Brown allowed the two of you to do accents, and not only on that episode did you do, let's say, there was a French accent, there was a German accent as well, because you were escaping from a World War I prison camp, and part of your escape involved having to pose as Germans as well.
Right.
So, so I guess he got it out of his system in one
wonder
fell
how.
swoop.
I mean, there was no way we could do it without doing the accents.
No, and we would do it anything in order to let us, stretch as far as we could and let High accept it, because many times you'd do one and he would say, that's a little bit
High was not the only producer. I mean, I worked for on a TV soap opera, and the exec producer used to hate accents.
Really?
Yes, Paul Rudd. I mean,
you got away with it there for 2 different accents.
I didn't actually.
Yeah,
you didn't. I didn't get away with it on the soap opera. That's another story, not for this show.
Right.
But it's a good story. It's actually one of my favorite acting stories.
To be continued, we'll say.
We
do a show on soap operas, but
about not getting away. No, but not getting away with doing an accent, and how the story basically is when the producer or director or whoever says, "Yeah, it's good, but no accent." They don't understand that it's not just you're not just dropping the accent. You're dropping a whole. Character,
a whole character,
right?
And that's the whole idea.
It's like it's like those idiot things that directors tell you when you're doing commercials. You know, we as voiceover actors have a whole list of idiotic things that people have told us, and of course you're in the studio and you want to make nice, so you nod and smile, and you come home with aching cheeks because you say, sure, we can make it. I can talk slower and make it faster. Yeah, sure. The one I'd love was, Paul, do you remember that guy who was the butler in Arthur? I said, yeah, you mean Sir John Gielgud. Yeah, that's the guy we want, but without the accent. Yeah. That's my favorite accent.
Yeah. Story.
Anyway, that has nothing to do with Radio Mystery
Theater. But what we're saying
but
with Radio Mystery Theater was that Hyman Brown was a gentleman that was in control of all of this, and he was saying, we said this off the air, so I might as well say now, did not like accents, did not want accents for the most part.
As far as I remember, am I right about that, Bobby?
Yeah.
He didn't like accents,
most part.
really.
But you got away with it there in that particular
I don't
episode.
I don't think there was any way we could have done the episode.
I don't think so
without
either.
accents.
No.
Now, you also had people that came on board. Want to just get a little flavor? Morgan Fairchild was beginning her career.
Morgan.
She was on. Fred Gwynn with off of the Munsters.
Fred was already
very
famous.
established.
Fred was already famous. Morgan was just a young, beautiful person.
Right, and then
just a young person. And she was at that time. She was a young, beautiful person. I don't know how she got onto the show. I guess Hyde must have said, I think I would like to have a young, beautiful person.
And then Ralph Bell, Earl Hammond, again, they weren't young at that time, but saying they established individuals and people
Ralph
worked with.
Bell was wonderful. Just what
some
a
of them
voice.
had such distinctive voices. Howard Da Silva has a great distinctive voice. Did you ever work with him? I don't remember.
Well, we were in 1776.
That's right. There you go.
That's right, you were.
That's another series of stories, because he played Benjamin Franklin and I played John Dickinson, who didn't sign, from Pennsylvania.
See?
Yes, we had several tussles on the stage.
Oh, I bet.
Yes, goodness gracious.
And any of these people stand out as someone that you could say, how do we say this, was rubbed you the wrong way, that you just didn't get along with it, performing just didn't work, or did it always work?
Well, don't forget that, as we've discussed, as Bobby has discussed, you on the for CBS Radio Mystery Theater, you come in, say hello, take your coat off, and do the show, and then have lunch, either with or without the person that you do or don't get on with, and one would just generally just do it as a professional. In a play, doing a show 8 times a week for a year, that's a completely different kettle of fish.
Right.
People drive you absolutely crazy.
Yeah.
Now but not on radio. Not for
tough to get along.
It's
sometimes.
a few minutes. The question is, I inferred it last show. I have to ask because we've had Alan Alda on, we've had Barney Miller himself, Hal Linden on as well.
We were in Rothschilds together, of course. He played my father, Hal.
So you see how in a small world it is. And
it is a small world.
Those two gentlemen were, to us, as professional, as nice, as terrific as you are on the air today. It seems like that they were very genuine with that. Did you find that as well? Working
Alan is a prince.
Yeah.
I've met him. I did this film with him, and I also worked with his daughter in a play. Alan is just a gentle, smart prince of a man.
Yeah.
Hal was very nice too. We shared a dressing room for a year, so we were theatrical roommates. It was different. And I think over the years, one gravitates towards certain people and not to others. just as one does in life. Isn't that true?
Because I'll say I contacted Paul Hecht to do the interview today, and he was good enough to then ask us, hey, would you like to have Bob come on board? And I'm glad you did. And it's, what would you say, birds of a feather. We're having a great time together, and I guess that's what's happening. Is
I owe you 10% now?
Of the 123.
Personal manager.
Oh, good.
I mean, Bobby is one of the cornerstones of our business.
And there was no doubt that...
I mean, you don't. If you met him walking down the street in Garden City, you wouldn't know who he was. But you've heard him, thousands and thousands of times.
Right. And what is it, or was it, about working with Paul that continued the friendship? Because we say thereafter, most of the time you're in the cocoon of the work, but you two gentlemen have gone beyond that a bit. Is there something that clicked, or I don't know what it was. The wives got along, or something else, or?
No, I don't think that. Principally because I live out on Long Island, and I don't go to dinner or something with a lot of actors at night. But I think when you have a meeting of minds, and Paul and I did, for a couple of reasons, in the business of the characters that you get to play, but we were both the president of the Screen Actors Guild here in New York, and I've respected him probably more than he has ever known, and it's probably been mutual, but who's to say? But you realize that some actors literally bring something to it every moment. And I think that's one of the most important things about what's happening today with radio, is that people are carrying these little things in their hand, and they have something plugged into their ears. Today you can have radio playing all the time, and people walk the streets, they sit in their cars, I don't mean driving it, but the radio can be heard today more than ever before because of these little instruments that they have and the earphones that they have. It's marvelous what can happen.
I want to say something else, Douglas, that I believe in, which is that actors in general are very affectionate people, by and large, and there's a group of actors that only think of themselves, and there's another group of actors that go, we're all in this together.
Yep.
And Bob, I've always felt with Bobby that we're all in this together. There's something affectionate and nice. And I remember when I started that poetry series that I curated in Greenwich Village, I said, I'm going to do an Ogden Nash evening, and the reason I'm going to do it is to get Bobby to do it.
And to get him out to the city,
amazing.
Right?
Well, not just to get out to the city, but to hear Bobby read some of Ogden Nash's poems and humor. And I cannot tell you what those evenings were like.
Wasn't that great?
Oh, I mean, forget about it. And the 50, 60 people who were crammed into that Greenwich Village cellar, I still meet them. They say, well, are you going to do the Ogden? You're going to do that again? How's that man? What was his name?
That was
his name again?
That was heaven.
Heaven. But I mean, that's the upward spiral of our business. Right.
When you have that chemistry, though, you want to work with it,
Yeah, I don't like to use chemistry.
Yeah.
It sounds so scientific.
Right.
Even though that's an appropriate word. No, there's something, there's a
kismet. Yeah.
You just go, oh, that's a nice person. And
you just feel at ease. You feel a comfort.
Yes.
Yeah. Right.
And now we'll
be right back and talk about comfort. We'll be right back. Everything old is new again. Making more comfortable with the radio and talking about everything old is new again. Radio Mystery Theater.
This is Everything Old is New Again, America's entertainment pop culture talk show with Douglas Viviani and David Cohen.
Please, Mr. Jefferson. Now, look, you have to stand up to your father. You have to let him know you're a man.
I will. From now on, I will.
No. You have to stand up to him now. Tell the truth.
But I'll die.
Possibly, but if you don't tell the truth, you'll surely die. What life can be left you, huh? To spend the rest of your days even deeper within your father's shadow?
Mr. Jefferson, what do you want me to do?
Take a stand. Tell the truth.
There we go. We're telling the truth about radio and about CBS Radio Mystery Theater with Paul Hecht, who is Thomas Jefferson in that clip. And we have Bob Kaliban, who was a troubled soul, let's say, in
Yes.
that clip. And again, that's a story of Thomas Jefferson as before he was president.
But did you hear, Doug, did you hear how we were playing music together?
Yes.
You know, that's what I was talking about before. We just did it, right? We read it through once.
Yeah.
And then just so that you knew where it was going. But while we were doing it, it was almost like two musicians. But you know what I'm saying?
Yes.
If you listen to that, you can hear the rhythm.
Absolutely.
I was going to say, even the pauses, you could hear not one person was trying to rush their line over another. You sort of, that's why I was surprised when you said all you've done was the one read through and then you did it. It was like true professional artists, whether it be musicians or whatever it might be, performing their craft. And that's what I encourage you to take a look at now. If you want to go to Google, wherever it might be, you look up CBS Radio Mystery Theater. There's 1,399 episodes to enjoy, and it's really fun. Now, I listen to these from time to time with my children. There's a Christmas episode that I love with Howard Da Silva, and just many episodes. We listen all the time. My children are 8 and 6, so they're a little young for the time span to listen, but they are interested, and in that they have an open mind to say to themselves, these are stories. I want to hear these stories. I like these stories. Of course, they get to stay up late a little bit longer because we're listening in bed together, but they're really enjoying it. So I would suggest that it doesn't go away if presented properly. These are timeless stories. And some of them are written by the best authors, not only he and Brown. I mean, there's some Shakespeare there. There's some Dickens. There's some Edgar Allan Poe stories. No, Paul?
Yeah, and coming back to something that I've said earlier about the spoken word, there is something that is so visceral, so touching about the spoken word. There is probably nothing more important than reading to your children.
Yes.
Which is what I do as a volunteer, in the pre-K system in New York.
That's marvelous.
There is nothing that I can think of that is more important for your 4, 5, 6, 7-year-old than,
Yeah, we read every night, they have for homework, and now it inspires them to write. E.G. Marshall spoke about this in a clip before about the imagination. And when you see I'm not putting TV and movies down. There's just different forms of entertainment. But you lose your ability to use your imagination when it's given to you on a silver platter every time you turn the TV on and they tell you the story.
But it seems to me that people said to their little kids how dangerous it was to read comic books and to listen to the radio.
And I was at a comic book convention. I told Mark Grunwald, who wrote, and Stan Lee, who wrote and created Daredevil, that when I was a young boy, I read many, but I also read Daredevil. I'm an attorney by profession. That's what I've done for many years. I would not have become an attorney, and I would not have read as well as I learned to read if not for the Marvel comics in the 60s and 70s. Because they did not talk down to you as a child. They were something worthwhile.
I mean, even our generation's upset with people on their phones all the time. Mm-hmm. It is reading and writing.
Right.
I mean, it is a different kind of reading and writing, and I wish people wouldn't cross the street watching their phones while I'm driving, down my street in Brooklyn. But, the pendulum will swing if they stay alive.
Right.
But it's reading and writing. It's just, as I said before, it's the delivery system that's different.
Yeah, what you've just said about reading to your two children, that to me is just such a touching thing, because you can create and they can respond to your creation in a way that nothing else will be the same.
And it does build memories for them.
Oh my gosh.
And it's the it's the sound of your voice. And the sound of your voice,
absolutely.
My dad's, I've got my father's voice.
Yeah,
see that?
The other thing is, here's a bit of advice, not to you, but maybe to young people who are reading to their kids, is slow down.
Yeah.
Slow down and let them turn the page.
Oh, yeah.
An extension of that, though, I just want to say is, a payoff, if you will, is the Radio Mystery Theater performances that they get to hear with Dad. And it really it ignites imagination. Now, I just want to, one quick statement is that our show, the Everything Old is New Again's mission statement basically is, through clips, characters, games, we do challenges, we do fun conversation, we do characters, we do some celebrity interviews, obviously. We honor the past and introduce it to the present, recognizing all entertainment today is built upon the foundation of the entertainment of yesterday. And our show is based on the foundation, the shoulders of what you have done. And I'm sure what we were saying before is how you were saying your work in the entertainment industry, at least with respect to radio, was built upon the shoulders of some of the performers in the 50s and 60s.
Oh, was
right?
it ever?
And Homer's Odyssey.
Exactly. It goes all the way back to that. Yeah. Exactly right. So, that's the theme, and I don't think that we're missing the mark, and I appreciate the time that you've had to spend with us to help us recognize and acknowledge that. It is something that shouldn't be lost in the shuffle. I'm just having a great time with
Paul and I are the lucky ones.
Thank you. We've got a few minutes left. Is there any memory of this whole experience that you'd like to share that we haven't had an opportunity to hear from you in terms of either what you've left as a legacy with these shows, maybe what fans have told to you or come up to you? Do you still have people ever acknowledge what you've done? Do they know?
They don't really know because I was more of a character on all of the shows. Today, I kind of say, if they could just hear my voice, I could get some more jobs. What happened with me is the people that I got to work with. That was the most important thing. And also that I did get to work that day because I have a family. I have 3 kids and 9 grandkids, and I had to make a living in the business. And this was one of the ways that I did make this living, where other guys would say, what did you do yesterday? I said, well, I did, a radio show. Radio? My gosh, are people still listening to the radio? You betcha. Yes,
absolutely.
They are.
Absolutely.
And
one form
that's
or
why you're, what you're doing right now, everything old is new again. Yes, it is. It's new. It's something that people have not done for a while and say, oh my gosh, I could listen to that. They're creative people. And that's what's wonderful.
Yes, and that's what it's about. When we heard Radio Mystery Theater, we heard different characters, but we heard the heart of the show. We knew every week. We were tuning into that. It's like with us, they have to like David and I individually because the topic changes all the time. And Paul, you're one that would lead the way in 138 episodes. Do you feel? I don't know. Do you ever have the desire to play a show or two for a family member or a younger gentleman or lady that has never heard it before?
I do tell them where they can listen to it.
Good.
Good. It's not hard to find anymore. But it was an important and extraordinarily enjoyable part of one's career. But my career is almost 60 years now. I started when I was a teenager, and I'm now 76. And this was...
Is that all?
Yep. And this was just not a little. And it's just delightful to think that something that one did that still lives on, because, in fact, what we do, especially in the theater, it's, as I say, it's like pouring sand into a sieve. What happened?
Right, your best performance. It's not taped. It's for those people, but it's in their memory. That's it.
It's in their memory, which is sometimes, and sometimes people do come up and go, But in general, I don't make a big thing of it. I've moved on to doing now what it is I do. Part of which, as I say, is reading to little kids,
right,
and watching their faces. They're just rapt.
Isn't that wonderful?
Wonderful.
Oh.
How much time do you get? How much time do they give you to? We can go a little. How much time do they give you to read when you go into a classroom? I presume.
I go into pre-K. We've got pre-K for a while. I don't know if you have it out here.
No.
It's an incredible program. City one. I thought it was a New York State program, but maybe it isn't.
Yeah, it's just a city right now, right?
And I go on Wednesday mornings. I read to 2 classes. I read to about 40 kids, 20 kids. Part of it has to do with getting them to stand up and speak.
Yeah.
And a lot of them are ESL, English as second language. Some of them have learning disabilities.
Sure.
But the reading out loud part is something, as you know, is something that I believe in. It's almost like if I had any kind of religion, it would be the spoken word.
See that? I've experienced that at a much smaller level, where in our schools here, every Friday for kindergarten and first graders, they have a special guest, a mystery guest that comes in, and it's of course a parent, but they never know which parent is coming in when. But you go in, the kids are all sitting, all 25 of them are sitting in a row there. You sit in this rocking chair and you read 2 or 3 books to them. Yes, every
slowly.
Friday. Yes,
my God.
Have you noticed how slowly you have to read? And don't be scared to pause. Read slowly.
Exactly. We don't have the time limitations we have on the radio. I wish I had an 11-hour show instead of 11 minutes. But I agree with you 100%. And we do a little character voice here and then. You wait for the reaction, then you turn the page. But they're enraptured. They really, I was very surprised. They all eyes are on you, and they really want to hear what you have to say. Even if it's a book they've heard before, they're hearing it again with a different intonation or whatever.
So what story has not been told before?
Because everything old is new again.
I thought you'd bring that back.
Thank you, Paul Hecht. It's been a pleasure. Bob Kaliban, thank you so much. We hope to have you back. If you're open to that, definitely throw out that invitation in the future. Thank you so much for taking your time.
It's been a joy.
All right, great. Don't forget to tune into Radio Mystery Theater whenever you can. And Everything Old is New again every week right here. Every week right here. Everything Old is New again.
Great stuff. Thank you.